What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Land Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Sleds. With me, as always, Titan Mike Kessinger. What's going on, Mike?
Not too much. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Hey, I see something new hanging on the wall over here.
Yeah, I kind of won something.
Yeah.
It was a cheap entry, so I was like, my frugal ass is gonna get in one.
Got a Greedy Williams autographed jersey.
And I won
Pretty
it.
nice.
And so it's hanging there because obviously this is a Cleveland Sports Podcast, and
Yes, it is.
you have items that you're supposed to bring too, but you're being a little girl about it.
Hopefully next week we'll have a couple more editions. We're gonna do maybe some remodeling this weekend.
We're gonna find a stud and nail a nail.
Yeah.
Okay. Remodeling so complicated.
Yeah, redecorating.
So complicated. That's hanging up by tack.
Yeah. Mine's gonna take a little more than a tack.
Yeah, like I said, a screw
Yeah.
and a stud.
Should fit nicely next to it, though.
Yeah, we'll go right next to it. And then we have something going up in the
Yeah,
corner
we got
over there.
a big ticket item going up over there. The Jim Brown autographed
Yeah,
JK helmet from the that they wore from 1962 to the early 70s.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty.
Yeah, it's got a nice, pretty sweet display case. My kids got
and
me.
once you bring it in here and then you leave and then I change the locks and I quit the show. I have free memorabilia.
Right. Yeah, it's worth a few bucks.
Because I have all your shit down here. I mean, you gotta prove that it's yours.
Right. All right. So today we're doing our MLB and Cleveland Indians preview. At 8:30 we have Sports Illustrated's Indians editor/writer Matt Loede calling in to kind of kick off our Indians preview. So we'll start off with the MLB portion to get that going, and then once Matt calls in, we'll get started with the Indians portion.
Well, we should probably just do. What the fuck is this?
That's we don't know for sure the exact division alignment yet. That's the best guess idea that everybody's come up with, and I'll go over it. I'll go ahead and put it up here on the screen so everybody else can see. This is what the projected divisions are going to look like. Once again, it'll be.
It makes no sense. Like, I'm sorry. Like right now, like.
Well, originally it was supposed to be like the AL East against NL East, the AL Central, NL
I get
Central.
that part.
But they're for some reason they're swapping out the Pirates and the Braves. They're putting the Pirates in the East, I believe.
The Pirates are closer to the Central.
Right,
than
that's
the Braves.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they have them in the East and the Braves in the Central.
And everything else makes sense. I mean,
right.
Yeah, both New
Well,
York.
again, this isn't set in stone, but this is what the projection is. This coming week, we'll know what teams are in what divisions, and the schedule's coming out this coming week. So
we'll see.
Everything will be good to go then.
So did you hear? Manfred was on with oh god, I'm drawing blank on his name. He was on. He did an interview with somebody. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he kind of shot himself in the foot.
Yeah, who did he do the interview with? Remember who it was?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was,
yeah,
but
I can't. It starts with a B, I think.
He said when he said there was always going to be a 60-game season.
We were never going to play more than 60 games.
Right. I bet the players have already filed a grievance.
But then they signed someone that said they wouldn't sue.
I don't think so.
Remember that was part of the deal. Like, you won't file a grievance. That was part of the deal.
Maybe.
That you won't sue us or file a grievance. So I think since they did that, he come out pretty much tell you whatever you want because you already have that in a contract too. So I mean, did he shoot himself in the foot?
I don't. That's what they were saying on the radio this morning.
Well, it makes him look like an asshole.
It does.
I mean,
he is an asshole. Well, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
He's retarded. Like he's probably the worst commissioner in all of sports right now.
Yeah, he definitely needs to step aside after this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be.
So we'll go over some all the new rules. I'll go ahead and put them up here.
The new rules.
New rules.
New rules. Oh yeah, the whole no spitting, no seat.
Yeah. So first of all, we got National League is getting the DH. That actually may stick permanently for now on.
That makes so much sense because it creates an extra roster spot.
Right.
Position more means players can last longer in their career, make more money.
Exactly.
You know, because if you were shitty, like it'd be like Framil Reyes would be the perfect DH in any National League team.
Right.
Because he's not a liability in the outfield, but he's just not someone you.
Well, he's going to have to play there this year, so it should be interesting.
Well, I think he also slimmed down a lot, so he's more athletic, I heard. So, I mean, there's some pluses coming out of the Indians camp.
Yep. So we got that. Then the interesting one, each extra inning will begin with a runner at second base.
What the fuck we play? Like this? Are we gonna
It's
have
softball rules.
Ghost runners next.
Well, the
ghost man on third.
The runner is going to be the batter who made the last out the previous inning. So whoever made the last out in the ninth will be the runner at second to start the 10th inning, and so on. If it continues on for more innings after that, I don't really care for that, but I'm hopefully it's just this year and it's not something they're going to incorporate full time going forward.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I don't care for that one. We've known about this one for a while. Relievers now have to face a minimum of 3 batters when they come in.
That's just to speed up the game.
Yeah.
Which kind of hurts Terry Francona because he was like a master of
hurts,
supplemental situational pitching.
It'll hurt guys like Oliver Perez, who's used to coming in facing maybe 1 or 2 lefties, and then he's done. He's the lefty specialist guys. It's going to hurt those guys because they're going to have to face more than they're used to. Then you mentioned the spitting rule. No spitting of any kind is prohibited. No saliva, seeds, peanut shells, or tobacco. But chewing gum is permitted. I know he's that's going to hurt him.
Because his is like tobacco/gum. It's a big wad of like of nastiness. Right. I don't know how you do big league chew and Indian straight cut. Like It's just no. Ew. Or Red Man or some crap. I don't know whatever he's chewing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Next one, pitchers can carry a small wet towel in their back pocket. This is replacing them licking their fingers.
Okay, like they're going to remember to do that.
Right. It's going to be interesting.
So your ass is going to be soaking wet and uncomfortable. Your pants are going to be stuck to your butt cheek.
Right.
That makes... I hate this country. Like this...
Then next, players will be given COVID-19 tests every other day, which is kind of expected, I guess.
Every other day.
Every other day. I thought maybe it'd be once a week or maybe once every 5 days, but they're going to try their best to keep everybody safe. There's a COVID-19 injury list, so if a guy does test positive, he can be put on that until he's recovered, and then you can replace him until he comes back.
There's probably no set time though either, right?
No, there isn't.
Like the 15-day DL, 30-day DL is going to be as needed.
Yeah, just until he recovers. Until I think you got to have like 2 or 3 tests to make sure you're negative before you can resume. Then expanded dugout and bullpen space to try to keep as much of the 6-foot distance as possible. And they're encouraging also I have that on here also, the players and the umpires to stay as far away from each other on the field as possible. No fraternizing at second base.
Question. When you're leading off at first or second or third, they don't lead off 6 feet.
Right.
So is that what they're telling me? If you're going to lead off, dude?
No. I don't think that's part of it.
What about the ump that's behind the catcher and the batter? They're all within like a 2 feet space in there. What are you going to do? Wear a bubble suit?
I have no idea. So I said, I don't know how all this is going to work, but we'll see. Like I said,
only a 30-man roster for the regular season. They only had is it 8?
They're taking 60 into camp right now, and then it gets cut down to 30 once the season starts.
Instead of what was the original is 25?
24. Well, 25. Yeah, it was going to be 26 this year, but now there's another extra 4 more guys.
Is that even enough though?
Well,
there's no minor league.
No.
Like the season got canceled for the first time period, so you don't have these players,
that's what this decision is going to have to be made. Like the Indians are kind of decide with Nolan Jones right now because he's kind of like on the cusp of the big leagues.
Yeah.
And then there's the thing with service time. Does their service clock start if they're put on? So I don't know. I'm sure all those rules are going to come out this coming week. In my opinion, they shouldn't. With this shortened season, their service time shouldn't start. They should waive that for this year. And maybe that would encourage teams to bring some more prospects up.
They didn't want to waive the service time because in all the contract, the players that are in the contract, if they waive the service time, if Frank Simpson's on 2 more years and they waive it, this year won't count. He'll still have 2 more years then, right?
Right.
So you can't waive it for minor leaguers and not the.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to work that.
It's going to be weird.
And then obviously no fans in attendance, at least to start. Maybe they'll see how things go.
Which I think is ridiculous because if you're looking at it now, who is having fans? some of these NASCARs and had fans in there.
Yeah.
And golf was having the golf tournament's having fans in there, and Columbus.
Right. So
if these outdoor venues can have fans,
well, I think you can have like
why can't
10,000
why
at least.
The Dolan should be doing everything they can to be like, look, to the governor DeWine, like, hey, look, if you're letting them do the fans here in this sport, why can't we do it with the same, percentage restrictions? You know,
and they were talking about this on 92.3, the morning show. You cut out the first 2 rows, no fans on the first 2 rows to keep them from interacting with the fans.
Do what the NFL is doing. Tarp off the first 6 rows, right, and then put advertisements all over it. You're not going to recoup.
There's a way to make money, right?
You're not going to recoup all your money, but you can get an extra 10, maybe 15% that you weren't going to get. A couple extra $1 million in there with the ad spaces.
Exactly.
And then boom, dude, especially in the bullpen, like though on your wall, see if the MLB will allow, because I don't think they're not allowed to inside the. I'm not sure how it works.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But they'll add on the outfield walls,
Right.
Just start selling fucking chairs, like whatever. Like,
yeah. Hopefully, once they get going, they'll come up with something to allow some amount of fans in for the games.
If they need to, because it's gonna be ridiculous watching.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, but I mean, I'm ready to watch sports at this point.
Yeah, I'm even to the point where I want to watch the WNBA.
All right, so you look at I highlighted some of the key additions in the offseason for some of the teams who are expected to contend. The Atlanta Braves made some good moves. They got left-handed relief pitcher Will Smith, outfielder Marcell Ozuna on a cheap 1-year deal, and starting pitcher Cole Hamels add some veteran depth to their rotation. Of course, they were one of the hot young teams last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, won the division 97 and 66. And so they definitely helped themselves out. I said they got a B+ grade on their off season.
Indians got a D.
Yeah, they did. Well, that was Domingo Santana probably didn't bring it up that much, but that was before they signed him. The Dodgers, of course, made the big deal with the Red Sox, acquiring outfielder Mookie Betts and left-handed starting pitcher David Price. So that was a big boost for them, as if they already didn't have enough talented players. Of course, they were the top winner in the NL last year at 106 and 56. They were given an A-, which probably well deserved there. Then look on down the line, another National League team, another young up-and-coming team, the Phillies acquired Zach Wheeler from the Mets, starting pitcher, and then Didi Gregorius, the shortstop. They were given a B+ for those. That just adds to their young core. Last year, they were, 81 and 81 at 500, so they're expected to be at least a wild card contender this year. And you look in the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays, they've been pretty solid the last couple years. They acquired infielder Jose Martinez in a trade with the Cardinals, Hunter Renfroe, and Manuel Margot in a trade with the Padres. So added some pop to the lineup with Renfroe for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And they already had a solid pitching staff. Then you go down south to Cincinnati. The Reds made some moves. They picked up infielder Mike Moustakas, who I was hoping the Indians would go after.
Yeah, that'd have been great. That'd been a great pick.
Another guy I wanted the Indians to go after, outfielder Nick Castellanos from the Tigers.
Yeah.
And then they got a guy from Japan. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Shogo Akiyama. He's also an outfielder, so they boosted their outfield. They were given an A. Then our division foe, the Twins, a couple of them. The Twins added Kenta Maeda, starting pitcher from the Dodgers, pretty solid pitcher. And then Josh Donaldson add even more thump to their already league-leading home run lineup. So they're going to score some runs. Their pitching's still suspect.
I think, to be honest with you, I think Minnesota was a fluke.
You think so?
Because their lineup, if you look at those players past 2-3 seasons,
yeah,
they all play out their ass.
And Nelson Cruz is 41 now. He's not getting any younger. I think he's 40 or 41.
Yeah, because
he had a big year last year.
Well, yeah, but they all had career years in Minnesota.
Right.
They're not going to have the same type of year this year.
Yeah.
If 2 or 3 let's say 3 or 4 of those guys don't have the same year they did last year.
And that's why
They're huge. They're gonna be underperforming than what they were.
That was part of the
last
reason
year.
they brought in Donaldson to kind of offset maybe
Probably
some guys
I
having.
don't even know if that's gonna offset it. Like, do you really think he's gonna be a big impact?
He had a big year with the Braves last year, big comeback.
Okay,
year.
but
I was wanted the Indians to keep him, but obviously the money wasn't going to match up there. And then the Chicago White Sox might have had the best offseason of any team. They added starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel, catcher Yasmani Grandal, first baseman DH Edwin Encarnacion, we all know him well, and then power hitting left-handed outfielder Nomar Mazara from the Rangers.
yeah.
So those are big additions to an already young, talented team. So
They
they could be a
have
force in the
They have a really good farm system right now. I don't know about who's called up right now. Is can be considered like talented. I mean, there's potential, but potential to proven, is a few and far between.
Right.
Because look at who's your boy, Bobby Bradley.
Yeah.
All the potential in the world, and then what happened?
He's still young.
Dude couldn't hit shit.
No curveballs.
Couldn't hit shit.
Pedro Serrano.
Nothing.
He needs his own Jobu.
Nothing.
Or chicken.
Chicken. It's like I know what I'm talking about. It's just weird that I called that shit. I was like, Bobby Bradley gonna be nothing. They're like, he's gonna be the next Greg Indian. I'm like, all right, guy.
He still might be.
Nah.
Then finally, the good old New York Yankees made the splash of the offseason, signing right-handed pitcher Garrett Cole away from the Houston Astros.
Dude, they can remember when who was it that Oakland? Who was that Oakland A's pitcher that we were trying to get, and then he signed with the Yankees? Oh, guys, they're pissing me off.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But he didn't have he was phenomenal in Oakland, and then
they also brought back Brett Gardner, who seems like he's been there 30 years. He's like the Aaron Kraft of the Yankees.
Yeah. Speaking of Aaron Kraft, I got an autographed Aaron Kraft photo outside.
Do you? You should put that up too.
Sonny Gray.
Sonny Gray, okay.
He was outstanding in Oakland. Like, we were like, dude, we can add him. Bauer, Kluber, Gray would be. We were one of the teams.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go to the Indians,
Right.
and then he went to the Yankees, and he kind of he was all right. Like, he wasn't as elite as he was in Oakland.
Right.
And I mean, do they still have Sonny Gray?
All right. Matt just messaged me. He said he's running about 10 minutes behind. So about 8:35, we'll have Matt Loede on.
Oh, shit's not even 25 minutes. Jesus. Is he gonna call? He's calling in, or?
Yeah, he's calling in the hotline.
Oh no.
Yeah, we'll have a hotline caller finally.
It's not gonna be Superfan Matt.
No, it's going to be Matt, but not Superfan Matt kind of disappeared on us.
Superfan Matt can bite me, all right?
Yeah, he was a superfan.
Yeah.
He's not anymore.
Now
He's way down on the totem pole now.
There's only one man on totem pole, but still, it's a one-man totem pole, so it's still only him. But he doesn't have the gravitas or the pull he used to have now.
Right.
Yeah, I use a big word, the gravitas. What's up? I wiki shit. I have a word of the day calendar.
Can you explain what that means for everybody?
Google. So, yeah. So here, NFL eliminated 2 preseason games.
Yeah, we can go over some other stuff real quick. The other news and notes I had.
We have NFL's eliminating 2 preseason games. NFLPA may even try to eliminate all 4 preseason games.
Yeah, I'm fine with eliminating 2. I mean, I think there only needs to be 2.
I'm 3. I'm fine with that. 3, because one game you can tune it up.
Yeah.
And then,
Because the 4th game just... I'm fine with that one completely being wiped out.
Just put the 4th game on there. I mean, that's the only one
That's
you
when
play.
you play the guys who are about to be cut.
That's the only one you play is the 4th one now.
Yeah.
Cut the first 3, and, you make cuts in practice, and then
Right.
scrimmages and stuff, and then the 4th one they'll do the hard to, you're not quite sure, you'll see how they do, and then that's it.
I won't be surprised if they do cut out the whole preseason and then move the season back a month.
That would be, no, you could, I don't think you can move
But they're talking about starting in October, possibly, instead of September. That's on the table as a possibility, if they need to, depending on how things are.
Go
At the
to
time.
Super Bowl late February?
Yeah, February Super Bowl.
Well, it's already a February Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, late February.
Yeah, that's what, like I said, late February. Come on, man. Keep up. Keep up. I don't want to talk about Cavs because they're just...
A couple other NFL notes.
There we go. More NFL notes. More football.
Thinking about having fans sign a waiver, not holding the NFL liable if they catch it at a game from another fan.
How's the NFL's fault?
Right, it's not. And that's...
You had a choice to not come to this game, or come to the game.
Right.
You chose to come to a place where there's going to be thousands of people
there. They're gonna get a lot of people that want to go. I guarantee you.
You're gonna sign a waiver. If you're gonna come in, you're signing a waiver.
Right.
Like that's as simple as that. If you don't want to sign a waiver, you don't come in.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold me accountable. Like so, if you get the flu when you go to a football game, get the flu, you're gonna sue 'cause I got the flu.
Right.
Same thing. You know the risk. You're going into a big group situation, where you're gonna be nut to butt, or at least,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
Arm ways away with everybody. So if someone sneezes, you're gonna feel it.
Right.
I mean, if you get sick, you get sick. So.
Then Jadeveon Clowney is supposedly down to 3 teams: the Titans, Browns, and Seahawks. And he said yesterday that he will pick a team in another month or so.
Let's go Titans.
Let's go Browns. Bye Olivia Vernon.
Fuck it, then we'll sign Olivia Vernon.
Yeah, I mean the Browns.
I'd rather have Vernon than Clowney, anyways. To be honest with you, because Clowney, he's not an elite pass rusher.
He'll be good for you for 4 or 5 games.
He's not an elite pass rusher.
I know.
Clowney is a better run stuffer than he is a pass rusher.
Yes.
He's always been like that. He's always benefited more when you had an elite pass rusher on the other side of him.
Right.
So yes, he'll probably be a little better than Vernon, because Vernon's only a pass rusher. He's not known to stop the run.
Right.
So you're going to give up a pass rusher for a run stopper, which I don't know.
That's their plan, so we'll see where that goes. Jumping over the NBA, a couple of Nets decided not to play as they've tested positive. DeAndre Jordan and Spencer Dinwiddie both tested positive this week for COVID-19 and have both opted out.
So that rule is literally right there. You know what that rule's out?
The Nets winning a game?
No. Even if Durant or Irving were able to play, they're not coming back now.
No, they're not.
No, like, why?
Yeah, the Nets will be out quick. NBA tested 351 players, and out of that 351, 25 tested positive.
You know how many of those were asymptomatic, though? That's what we're going to say.
Yeah, well, most of them were.
They're not telling us that.
And the biggest name was Nikola Jokic from Denver, but he said he'll be fine and ready to play in Orlando.
He probably wasn't even showing symptoms. He probably
I don't think he was.
Yeah, he's like, I had a little scratchy throat, but I was cool.
Yeah. Supposedly Rudy Gobert still, he said he can't, taste. He has no taste in his mouth.
He was the first one, wasn't he?
Yeah. Remember? That was right
after
our show.
Yeah,
that was before the NBA shut down.
Get the fuck out of here, you pussy. Whatever. I still can taste things.
J.R. Smith signed with the Lakers.
Well, I saw him signing somewhere.
Yeah,
that was a no.
He's replacing Avery Bradley, who's decided not to play. I guess he's got 2 daughters that have a lot of breathing and respiratory issues, so he's kind of worried about that. And that's understandable.
Dude, you guys...
You got to think about your family, too.
A lot of people have made millions of dollars already. So if they don't play, the NBA says, okay, fine. You're not getting held.
Right.
You're not getting punished. You're just not getting paid.
Right.
You're not going to get paid.
Yeah. Oh, I think this might be Matt here. Welcome to the Land Sports Podcast. Who do we have?
Hey, how you doing? It's Matt Loede.
Is this Matt Loede? How you doing, Matt?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Appreciate you calling in to talk with some Indians with us for a few minutes.
Not a problem.
So let's get started.
I'll let you lead off, Kevin.
All right, you want me to lead off?
Fan.
So obviously we've got a season. We've got a schedule coming out next week. We know they're going to play 60 games. Do you think the Indians are equipped to compete in a 60-game season as they're constructed?
I do. I think that, they've obviously added a couple more bodies over the course of the last couple of months. I thought in Goodyear they were well on their way to kind of getting things, constructed to play, obviously, the 162-game season, but we now know that will not happen. But,
right.
Everybody wants to know what the ramifications of playing in a short season are, and I think the biggest thing that you can look at is health. And this team kind of went through the gauntlet early with losing Mike Clevenger, and then Carlos Carrasco got hurt with a hip injury, and some guys were having some minor things done, like Adam Simber and Aaron Savali had some injury woes as well. but they were all coming out of it. And, now that you've had a couple of months removed, everybody is healthy.
Right.
And I think having Clevenger be 100%, I think that having Tyler Naquin be 100% or close to it, I think those are going to be huge benefits to them as they start on this 60-game journey. But to me, health is going to be a key. I think it's, they say that a lot with obviously the NFL and other sports, but for the Indians, obviously, even last year we saw that how badly this team got decimated with injuries, and yet Terry Francona led them to 90+ wins, and I just think that probably, it's going to take probably around 40 wins. So, it's pretty much going to be a sprint this year, which is very different in most baseball seasons. Obviously, you don't have to go that fast, but, every game is going to mean something, which is going to put a very different spin on this season.
Right.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we're talking about injuries, us coming back semi-healthy, with the minor league season being canceled this year for the first time. How big is that going to affect the team? Even though we have a 30-man roster now instead of the 25, well, it's only 5 extra bodies. And with minor league, being canceled and not having that pipeline, injuries are going to be a big concern. How big effect is that going to have on the season?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to have to do with communication on what players are in their minds ready to go down to the minor league. I wouldn't say minor league camp, but I guess the minor league facility that they're going to be running out in Eastlake. I mean, if you lose 2 pitchers per se, let's say you lose 2 relief pitchers, who's next on the list? And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the coaching staff and communication with the front office, just to kind of get an idea on what players truly are going to be ready to go. We've never seen a situation like this, so everybody's going to go through it. It's not like it's just the Indians that are going to have to put up with this. So I think communicating with each other, I think having, I'm sure that every team is going to, come up with a way to formulate this, but I think just having a list of guys that are, okay, this guy's ready to go, this guy's ready to go, this guy's not really there yet. I think that's going to be very important. And I think when you start talking about, bodies and arms and players like that, I think there's going to be a point in time when, the Indians seem to always run into it where they're going to need to call on some youth a little bit. And I think that we saw it last year with Aaron Savali and Zach Plesac. I mean, those 2 guys came up, and I thought both of them pitched extremely well considering where they were in their development and where they really were in their careers. They may need to do something like that again. And I'm not saying it'll be 2 starting pitchers, but you just never know. You just never get there, and unfortunately, as I said earlier, in this sprint of a season, if you will, having guys be 100%, having guys be healthy is going to be key. And I think it's also going to be key at times too to give guys a day off. I think you're going to see the days when a Jose Ramirez or a Francisco Lindor gets a day off because, again, Terry's got to be careful with how this thing is constructed because you don't have a lot of time to fall behind. You really don't. And I think that's going to be another thing that's very, very different from what we've seen in the past.
Right. So, with the season being canceled and the minor league players not having the normal run-through of their, season games and stuff, how much does this mini camp that they're working, or have you heard of how they're going to be staying in shape and ball ready? Is there a plan in place for these minor league players and teams to still be training and, on top of it, so when they are called up, they are some sort of ready?
Well, again, I think a lot of this is going to have to do with where these players are in their development. I think that, as I said earlier, you're going to probably have a good idea early on if a guy like a Nolan Jones or a Tristan McKenzie or a player of that ilk is going to be ready this season.
Right.
I think the team is going to do everything that they can not to force young players up, but as I said earlier, you're talking about trying to win a championship. I know that it just sounds weird to say that because we haven't been saying that very often recently because there hasn't been games. But, if the Indians need a player up at the major league level in 2020, they're going to do it. I know that, forget about the service time, forget about the year of free agency and all that other type of stuff. I mean, they realize that they've got an opportunity here with this shortened season to really do something. And I've seen a lot of publications that seem to feel that this is a team that's built this way because of the starting pitching. Clevenger, Carrasco, Bieber, obviously Savali and Plesac, who we've mentioned a few times. those guys are, 5 of the best starting pitchers in the American League Central. And I think that when you have that, you put yourself at an advantage to be able to win and win a lot. So, as I keep saying, let's get there first and see how this team performs early on. And, again, let's try to make sure that for their sake they keep each other healthy, because that is one major factor in how this thing is going to go.
You talked about the injuries, some of the guys that were banged up, like Mike Clevenger and Carrasco. They'll be ready to go. What about a guy like Tyler Naquin? Will he be ready to go day one and step in the outfield?
Well, that's a great question, and one that, we talked with Chris Antonetti about the other day. And Chris was very much in the corner of, yes, Tyler Naquin's going to be healthy, going to be ready. And, there was a situation back in March, obviously, when they were in Goodyear, where Tyler had to get some clearance from some of his personal doctors in Texas. And, we were all kind of confused on what that meant per se. But obviously, whatever happened, he was able to get that clearance and obviously get it through the Indians as well. To get back on the playing field and work out again, because what we've been told is that he's ready to go. He adds a dimension to this outfield that I think they really need, and that is youth. That is a player who, historically, maybe he's not, everybody remembers the one game against Toronto a couple of years ago with the inside the park homer, but this is a kid who, quietly has developed into a pretty nice young outfielder. But the problem is, again, we just haven't seen enough of him because of the injuries. And last year I felt like, batting around 270, he was coming into his own, and then the injury in Tampa kind of derailed everything. So it will be interesting because, again, as we keep saying, the Indians don't have a lot of time to let him sort of develop into being healthy. But I think having these couple of months off has certainly helped him in terms of being able to get back to health. And now hopefully we'll be able to see him, be a factor in this outfield, because right now they've got 10 outfielders, and unless your last name is Reyes or Mercado, I don't know who's going to be in that other position, but there's a number of options out there, and I think it's going to be an interesting fight to see who gets playing time.
Yeah, of course. It's a deep list out there, and it's uncertain territory for the Tribe and for fans of the Tribe to not know. But we'll take it to a different direction, I guess. With this shortened season and the lack of fans and money coming in, and Francisco Lindor pretty much 1 foot out the door, does this give us a better opportunity or chance to sign him to maybe a small 3-4 year deal to keep the window alive just a little bit longer? So it also gives him an opportunity to catch another bigger year contract because he's still in his prime. Because no team seems like they're going to want to spend big after this shortened and less profitable season.
Yeah, I think what's going to, obviously I think everything is sort of on hold right now as far as Francisco is concerned. And I think that's probably why he saw the writing on the wall back in March as to why he did not want to continue negotiations with anybody, the Indians obviously included in that. To me, you've got to look at it from the fiscal standpoint of you've got him for another basically year and a half. And what I mean by that is you expect to play a full season in 2021. You're hoping to play 60 games this year. And if you do that, you'll have a very good idea of where his head is at, where he is at. And you'll also have a pretty good idea of what you can get for him from another team. I still think at the end of the day, he'll be out of here by next July of 2021. I think that's where the Indians are going to look at the optimal time to trade him. I'm sure they're going to talk to teams throughout the offseason again, just like they did this last offseason with teams like the Dodgers and the Reds and, maybe the Yankees again. But I think really it's going to come down to next July. That'll be your optimal time to trade him. You try to get everything you can for him if you're not going to re-sign him, which I just don't think they're going to be able to do. And then you call it a day. And you just understand that, this is just a very difficult situation. And, baseball economics has failed for quite a few years. It just, in my opinion, it has. This should be a sport like football, like basketball, that has a salary cap where these guys don't have, they have fiscal freedom to move on, but you just don't see that these types of moves. A guy like Lindor, 30, 40 years ago would be in Cleveland for 12, 15 years, and he'd be the star of the game, where now, you got him for 5 years, and then all of a sudden you got to try to come up with a couple $100 million. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think the game would just benefit so much if there was some sort of cap in place that, would help these young, I shouldn't say young, would help these small market teams like the Indians or mid-market teams out because, again, unless you're a team like the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, maybe a Chicago, even a Detroit can get there if they, but we've seen how badly that's fallen apart.
Right.
Other than those types of teams, you're just not able to compete at the fiscal level. And, obviously the Indians have felt that. And everybody wants to blame the Dolans for being cheap, but my goodness, I mean, they went out on a limb a couple of years ago and signed guys like Michael Bourne and Nick Swisher, and that failed badly. Then they went out after the 16 season where they made the World Series and they got Edwin Encarnacion. They had the team to make the runs, and then when they didn't make it, they had to scale back a little bit. And,
right.
Everybody wants to spend everybody else's money, but it's not always that easy, especially when you're talking about sports, because there's just so many different variables involved.
Right, exactly.
Of course.
Looking at the pitching staff, obviously our rotation is one of the best in baseball. The bullpen, Emmanuel Clase, how big of an impact is his suspension going to have on this bullpen? I know he was supposed to be, one of the young, hard-throwing back-end arms along with Karinchak.
Yeah, I think that, again, it's probably better in a sense that they knew about this back in March as compared to learning about it now, because they've had months to prepare for it.
Right.
I think you're going to get a chance with this bullpen to see a lot of different names that maybe you're not used to seeing. Gone are the guys of the Cody Allens, the Dan Oteros, the Andrew Millers, and now you've got guys like Karinchak, you got James Hoyt, you got Phil Maton, Nick Whitgren, who was pretty good last year. I think you're going to have to get used to seeing some new names out there that, Terry Francona has told us ever since he was, became manager back in 2013 that if there's one area of a team that can change really from top to bottom in 1 year, it's the bullpen.
Right.
It's the unit that, again, you can basically stub out 5 arms for 5 arms. And that's kind of what the Indians are going through right now. I think that there's a lot of intrigue with James Karinchak, not only because of his, what he's done in the minors, but also because a lot of people are speculative that, hey, if Brad Hand struggles again, he's due $10 million next year. Maybe it's time for a change at the closer position.
Right.
So, and a lot of people feel that Karinchak is the perfect guy for that because of the way that he throws and, kind of like that old Jose Mesa, come in for 1 inning, throw 99 a couple times and get out of there. We haven't really seen that with this franchise really since a pitcher like of Jose Mesa. I mean, you've had so many different closers, the Chris Perez's, the Bob Wickmans, the Cody Allens, but those guys, some of those guys, not to say that they couldn't get up into the 90s, but you've just not had the quote-unquote power pitcher like you've had in a Karinchak. So, again, you're going to see some names early on, again, like a guy like a James Hoyt or a Phil Maton or a Whitgren or, a lot of people do, of course, know who Oliver Perez is because he's been here for a while. But you're going to see games early on, and you're going to see times when Terry wants to see how these guys do in pressure situations, knowing, again, that in a shortened season, a lot of games are going to be decided early, and they're going to be decided, a lot of games are going to be important. So, if the starter struggles early, I don't think Terry's going to hesitate to go to the pen because I think he feels good about where this pen is at. I think they felt good about it back in Goodyear, too. But, your original question about Clase, I just think that it's better that they knew about it in March than just finding out now.
Well, plus, didn't they just find out that his 80 games, the 60 games will count? They won't roll over into next year? I thought
that's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful as well.
So he's only going to miss 20 games next year?
No, it won't roll over. He'll do the 60 games this year and then be ready to start.
Oh, okay.
Next year from the beginning.
So we're talking about Brad Hand earlier with the closing situation and him being due. So if he's struggling and not being up to par and he's due that $10 million, what do you think the outcome of the Dolan slashing payroll after this season, with the profits and this kind of fire sale? Do you think there's going to be a fire sale? I heard that there was going to be one, then I heard that was just smoke and mirrors. What's your personal opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that emanated from a report from Jesse Rogers in Chicago, who, I don't know where he got that information from, but I don't see that happening. I think that, Chris Annitti was pretty honest with us last Friday when he said that this team is going to take a fiscal hit this year. There's no question about it. The Indians count on attendance. They count on fans. And, because of the circumstances around, COVID-19, they're not going to have that. So, yeah, the Dolans are going to take a pretty massive hit this year. Now, does that equate into fire sale and get rid of everybody? I don't believe it does. But on the other hand, does it mean a Brad Hand and a Carlos Santana won't be back next year? It very well could. Again, this team, we wrote about Nolan Jones today, we talked a little bit about it in the video from SI.com about how, this team is built around prospects and draft choices. They have to be good if this team is going to be successful. We've seen what an impact Lindor had when he came up in 15. We've seen the impact when guys come up and they're able to do good pretty much right away. And that's why the Indians put so much development into their scouting team and, put so much emphasis on making sure guys are ready to go when they make the major league level, because they realize that they're going to be called upon to be major league players day one. It's not going to be a situation where you can come up and sit the bench forever. I think that's why it's interesting to me that a player like a Bobby Bradley, how many at-bats is he going to get in 2020? And is that going to hurt his development, knowing that, last year he had an opportunity and it really didn't work out? I mean, he struck out way too many times. I think he's part of the reason why the team went out and got a Domingo Santana for 1 year. So,
Right.
As far as a fire sale, I don't know if I would call it a fire sale. I would say that they're going to be very, they're going to be very fiscally smart about it, though. I would say that they'll be fiscally smart, which is what usually they are. They may be frugal. They very well may be frugal, but as I said earlier, would it surprise me if a Brad Hand and a Carlos Santana are not here next year? No. It just, I think, sadly, it's sort of the reality of where the payroll might end up having to be.
He hurt Kevin's feelings a little bit when he said Bobby Bradley struck out too much, because that was his boy. And
yeah, I was high on him when he came up last year, but he had a little trouble with the curveball.
we heard some not rumors, but some things about NFL trying to do to maybe recoup some of the loss for the attendance, like tarping off the few rows up and doing advertisement. Has there been talk about the MLB, maybe doing something similar, or using some of the outfield walls for advertisement to maybe try to recoup some of the attendance revenue?
I'm sure that they'll be creative in what they try to do, and I'm sure that, television ratings-wise, Cleveland is going to do very well, because even in bad years, they've always supported this team.
Yes.
The only thing I've heard, and it's a couple teams, I think it was Oakland and San Francisco are the first two teams that I heard about it with, and we actually wrote a quick thing on it last Friday, was that they're going to do cardboard cutouts of actual fans in the stands. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And the San Francisco Giants are charging $100. If you're not a season ticket holder, you could pay $100 and have a cardboard cutout of yourself in the stands. And in Oakland,
for one game?
I think they're charging for the season.
Oh, for the
wow.
season. Wow.
Yeah, for the season. And if you're in Oakland, I think it's between $100 and $150, depending on where you end up getting placed or whatever. And if you get a foul ball that hits you, you actually get the foul ball. I heard that. So it sounds very like major league-ish and very bad news bearish.
Carnival-y. It's like a game.
Yeah, it does. But you know what? Teams are going to try to be creative in how they're going to do this.
And this is the type of year you need
teams are built around fans, and if there's no fans, what else are you going to do? So, Oracle Park in San Francisco, where the Giants play, supposedly is already in discussions of doing this, and they've already sent a letter out to season ticket holders. And supposedly, I saw something that the A's jumped on board, and they're going to do the same thing.
We could always go the Korean League route and put stuffed animals in the stands.
Well,
they could do that too.
Yeah, they did the stuffed animal. They did the cardboard cutout was in some of the European soccer leagues I read too. They did that over there to test it out. I mean, it was only like $20-$30 or something. It wasn't, but it was like for a couple games, and they took it down. They did a reset, but that'd be interesting to see if major league teams jump on that and do that. I just figured tarping off the first 6 sections and selling that as advertising space would be profitable and easy. So
the
NFL thinking about it. So I mean, other professional sports teams should think about it.
Well, Matt.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, they'll again, these teams are, marketing departments within the major leagues are meeting on a daily basis to try to figure out, is there something we're missing? Is there something we're not doing? Is there something we can do better to try to get fans more engaged, more involved? Because I think that not only are you trying to make money for your ball club, but you got to have your fans stay engaged, because this is a difficult, this has been a difficult run for fans because of the amount of back and forth. And fans are not stupid. They realize that both sides are very much at fault for not having an agreement in place. And I think the fans are a little bit fed up with all of this. And, they'll be back. They always do come back. There's no doubt in my mind that they will be there. But I think that fans have a very legitimate gripe with the way that the players and the owners have treated this whole thing.
Right.
I have one final question before I let you go. Manfred in his latest interview said that there's always going to be 60 games. They were never going to play more than 60 games. How big of a shot in the foot is that going to be for them? Because that can literally lead to negotiating unfairly, or however they word it. I can't remember how they word it, but
or the Players Association filing a grievance.
Yeah, like how's that going to affect that statement coming out in that interview? How's that going to affect the negotiating the further contracts or even this one?
Yeah, I think that, and there's been a lot of speculation about that already. I think that the league has put themselves in a rock and a hard spot with, owners who don't want to budge, and then players union that doesn't want to move and give any leeway whatsoever. I was pretty optimistic when, the owners came out. I think it was the 66 game schedule that they were supposed to have in place. And then the players union came out and said, no, we want 70. I thought at that point that the owners had a legitimate gripe, because I thought that they had given in to the point where you're adding 6 more games, you're adding the more playoff teams, these guys are going to make their money, and then the owner or the players said, no, it's not enough. I was, again, I don't try to take sides in this one, but at that point I was kind of like, boy, the players are just looking really bad right now in this one. But,
right.
This is an unprecedented situation that we're in because of the pandemic, and you've got, a couple of big name players opting out already. Mike Leake, Ian Desmond, Ryan Zimmerman, Joe Ross. I mean, you've got a season where, baseball is one of those sports. It's obviously just like football or basketball or whatever. I mean, the shelf life on players is not forever. And to take away one of your years for just this is really going to hurt some of these guys. I mean, there's, I've seen the list of, guys that were scheduled to be free agents next year and how they're going to deal with that, and how much money those free agents are going to lose because they're not going to have the bargaining power that they would if they played 162 games this year. It's going to hurt. It really is going to hurt. I think there could be rather some interesting, resolve in this whole thing if you get certain players that come out and just have monster years. I mean, there's been talk already about a player hitting 400, because a lot of times through 60 games, you're just not there yet to see the averages really bottom out. So that could potentially happen, and it'll be interesting to see how they count that as far as the record books are concerned. And then, of course, there's obviously people who feel like, 60 games, it's not, I don't care if my team wins the championship, it's not going to matter. Trust me, if the Indians win a championship, I don't care if they play 6 or 60, it's going to matter to the city.
Exactly.
Every team
it really will.
boat.
It really will mean a lot, and I think that's why this team feels like, hey, we're going to put everything we have into going after it. And, Terry Francona kind of told us that yesterday, or I think it was actually on Tuesday now. Listen, it doesn't matter how many games we play. We're going to go out there and we're going to try to win every one, and then hopefully get into October and try to make noise. And I think that, again, as I said earlier, with the pitching this team has and hopefully the offense they get from the infield, I think they can make some noise. I don't know if they're good enough to win it, but I think they can certainly make some noise in the American League. And, I know Minnesota is really, really good, and obviously them getting guys like Josh Donaldson in their lineup is only going to help them. But I still think the Indians pitching proved it last year in a series against the Twins in what was it, August, when they went up and won 3 out of 4 from the Twins. They can match up with them. It's just a matter of, are they offensively going to be able to do it? I think there's a lot of great questions to be answered, and as I keep saying, we'll see how this plays out over the 60 games.
Right, and the White Sox made some nice additions as well this offseason.
Yeah, they're kind of loaded for bear as well. And, even teams like Detroit with Cameron Maben and Nico Goodrum, and, they go out and get Jonathan Shoup and C.J. Cron from the Twins. I mean,
right.
They're, a lot of the, they're not there yet. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think their number one starter is Matt Loede, who was 9-13 last year. But,
right.
There's a lot of teams that have made moves specifically, to try to obviously get themselves better. And now you find yourself in this short season. If some of these young guys can have good seasons, it'll make things very interesting. And I think you will see a fun race between the Tribe, Twins, and White Sox. I think those 3 teams all have what it takes in this division to win it.
Right. All right, well, appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, everybody who follows you and knows you, and you've been pretty public with it on social media, your battle with lymphoma. Can you just kind of give us an update as to where you are in your recovery?
Yeah, no problem. I was actually diagnosed a year ago in May with stage 4 lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stomach, pancreas, kidney area as well. It's been a tough, 13, 14 months, whatever it is at this point. I've undergone a couple of transplants. I've undergone, I think it's like 9 or 10 different rounds of chemo. And right now we're going through radiation, which is kind of new to me.
Right.
And there's been some pretty significant side effects, but, again, we're trying to handle it as best we can. And we've got two more treatments, actually, next Monday and Tuesday. I get tomorrow off, which is kind of nice. And after the 2 treatments next week, I'll get 6 weeks off, and we'll do a scan and see if we were able to get the remaining couple centimeters of the cancer that's in my lower abdomen out of me, I hope. But,
Right.
I never thought at 44 I'd be dealing with cancer, but, I think it's been a hurdle, and I certainly appreciate, and I've always said this, anybody who's ever taken a 10 seconds out of their day to say a prayer or think of me or anything like that. And
Right.
I've gotten so much support from not only my friends in the media, but also from the Indians. Indians, Browns, and Cavs have been amazing. I've covered these 3 teams for long enough. I know a lot of the people in the front offices and whatnot, but it's just been a special relationship with those teams, and I think the Indians a little bit more than the other 2 just because of my long-standing relationship.
Right.
26 years covering them. So yeah, it's been if you're going to go through something like this, and I never want anybody to ever have to, but certainly I know a lot of people that have. The one thing you want in your life is a good support group, and I certainly cannot. Say without, I have such a great support group from my wife to my family to my in-laws to, friends and family. And again, even just business people, people in my industry that have been just amazing, from putting on fundraisers to, text on a daily basis. Almost, it feels like it's been unbelievable. And, as I said, hopefully we'll get back to health 100%, and, just excited about getting back to Progressive Field on Monday to see, which should be a pretty interesting workout, I guess, if you will, when they open up on Monday. So
Right.
It'll be a lot of fun. They said camp is opening tomorrow, but of course the media, we're not going to be allowed in until Monday. So we'll be down there on Monday. We'll see it all, how it plays out, and we'll go from there.
All right, that's great. We're definitely pulling for you here. Stay strong and knock this stuff out.
Yeah, you're in the land of sports prayers, and we'll be sending those positive thoughts your way, hoping for nothing but a full recovery and
Thank you so much.
Strength, and be there,
We appreciate you coming on and giving your professional insight. Hopefully, maybe we can get you on maybe halfway through the season at some point.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep,
you'd like.
Absolutely.
All right,
anytime.
We'll stay in touch.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, appreciate it, Matt. Have a nice weekend.
Happy 4th.
All right, that was Matt Loede from Sports Illustrated, Indians editor and writer, giving us his insights. Some pretty good stuff there.
Oh yeah, great.
Definitely.
Great stuff. Pulling for him.
Yeah,
my mom dealt with some cancer, and it's a struggle.
Yeah, I had a lot of it in my family.
Hers wasn't nowhere near as extreme as his, as serious as his been. Like even a little bit, he told us.
Yeah, he's had a lot of struggles, but he's strong, man. He's been pushing through.
But I can only. Couldn't even bear to think how that could break something.
Yeah, especially at such a young age too.
Oh yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
I mean, we got. Like you said, the spring training opens up
Yeah, they all the players reported yesterday and started taking their tests and.
They'll start practicing. We'll see.
They start practicing.
What is it? 45 in Cleveland, 15 in Eastlake.
I think it's 40-20 actually.
I thought it was 40. I thought it was 50. Okay, well, anyways. So is it the 20 gonna be like the main 20 on the team? The ones that aren't vying for a spot, or how they're breaking this down? Like which ones are going where and why?
It'll be they'll have their 30 guys, and then it'll be the other 10 that are on the 40-man roster, and then additional minor league players. Probably their upper tier prospects, I would assume. Guys,
so
they want to keep.
The main 30 are going to be in Progressive.
Yeah.
And then like fringe players and guys are looking at are going to be in Eastlake.
Right.
Okay.
That's how I'm looking at it.
I thought maybe the main 15.
Yeah, they'll carry the 30 guys with them.
I thought
on the road.
15, 20 like Lindor, Ramirez, all stuff would be in Eastlake doing their thing since they're automatically going to be there, and then they'd have all the fringe players with all the coaching and stuff so they get a better look at it. That makes more sense to me because
I think they'll have those guys in Eastlake with some of the minor league coaches.
That makes no sense because you want to see how these guys are progressing. You don't want the major league coaches there watching them.
Yeah, and they're gonna play a lot of inter squad scrimmages.
Of course,
they don't even know because I think they're leaving it up to teams. They said teams like the Indians are close to the Tigers. So if the Indians and Tigers want to get together and play scrimmage,
are they be allowed to do that though?
Yeah, only with teams that are close proximity to them.
Because the NFL banned all joint practices and stuff like that.
So I'm guessing probably the Tigers, Reds, maybe Pirates, those teams that are only a couple hours away. So, but there's not going to be any actual preseason game, spring training games, I should say. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we'll get the schedule. I don't know, they didn't give it an exact date, but I think early next week the schedule's going to come out. We'll be playing 40 games, 10 games each against the division teams, Royals, White Sox, Twins, Tigers, and then the remaining 20 games, I think it's 4 games each against the National League teams that'll be in our division. That'll be the interleague play portion, but not going to really be interleague play because pitchers won't be hitting the DH.
Okay.
So, like Matt said, it's going to be interesting. Every game's going to be important with it only being 60 games, and you can't afford to go on a 7-8 game losing streak. I mean, that could take you right out of contention. So every game's going to be important, and I've heard people say, well, these guys aren't going to care as much because it's only 60 games, and there's not going to be any fans in the stands. Once these guys get on the field and the games get underway, the competitive juices start flowing, then they're going to be ready to play. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And like he said, I don't care if it's 6 games or 60 games, I'll take a championship, a World Series championship. In fact, David Ross, the manager of the Cubs, said the same thing. Hey, if they're handing out trophies, we want one.
Well, every single team's in the same boat. It's not like the Indians played 60 and they're the only ones that played 60, but they all played 182.
Right.
No, if the Yankees win, they played 60. If the Astros win, they played 60. If the Cubs win, they played 60. If the Pirates win, they played 60. Every team played 60, and then they won. They played 60, they made it to the playoffs, and guess what? Once you make the playoffs, it's still a 5-7 game series. So you still the same exact situation. All it did was take you 36 games to get into the playoffs instead of 87 or whatever.
One thing I forgot to mention too in the rules. One thing they're not doing that everybody thought they were going to do originally.
Expanded playoffs.
Yeah, no expanded playoffs.
Oh, I thought that was going to be this year, but none next year.
No, they're not. They're not doing it this year either.
Really?
Yeah, they decided not to.
Okay. But like we were talking about when we had Matt on the phone talking about like we can finally see someone may hit 400 for the season, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
But what I also think a home run champ could be like 21 home runs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just hope the way Reyes was hitting them, and when they did at the brief spring training, I mean he was hitting bombs almost every game.
Yeah, so maybe like he can win. But you're gonna see a 20-25 home run be your home run champ.
Yeah, that's gonna be your home run champ.
That's gonna be funny, but.
Yeah, it is what it is. At least they're going to get some form of a season in, hopefully.
So before we end the show, we have back-to-back weeks of guests calling in. So you want to, since you talked to the man, I noticed the message.
Yeah.
And then I was like, look, I don't understand this message. I think it's about something. And then you read it, and then you contacted him. Want to let the couple people that maybe listen here let our fans know what's in store for next week?
Yeah, we're going to have...
It's probably going to be a little longer interview because it's going to be a more of a in-depth
reach.
And
it's a really cool book. Author Alec Harnock wrote The Perfect Season Project, which is an uncommon arrangement of Cleveland Indians history. And a brief summary of what it is, he pretty much went back...
162 best game...
106 each game, so the best... First game of the season, best second game of the season, all wins, obviously, in history. And he'll be able to explain it better. He did it all on a spreadsheet. Had to be very time-consuming. I mean, he put a lot of work into this, and he's getting a lot of positive reviews. I mean, it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, you email me the PDF.
Yeah.
And, is he signing the... We should have him sign those, see if he wants to sign those.
Yeah, copies. I don't know. He said he was mailing them out today, so I'll have to check with him.
You should message him, if he didn't mail them out, but yo, to your fans at Land Sports, autograph, that'd be pretty cool. Anyways, that's just...
It's his first book, too.
So. Yeah. So, it's a lot of work, which is pretty cool. How he took like you said, he took every single game. So the very best winning first game, opening game season, and then the second game, the best, So I mean, there's some that go back to Bob Feller to 1900s, early 1900s. I saw something from the 1800s in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how far back this goes. So
Right.
there's a lot of time and dedication and conviction that went into writing this book. So I mean, and then it's not long. It's 162 games, obviously, but there's like 3-4 paragraphs. I saw the PDF you sent me.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 paragraphs per game.
Right.
It's a real so. You're just gonna read a few paragraphs per game about like why it's the best. Why.
It was just little recaps
It's pretty interesting.
special things that happened in those games.
And he mailed them to you.
And he was on the he was on a podcast with Paul Hoynes, the Indians podcast on Cleveland.com. I listened to that, and like he said, there's some games where something really cool happened. Like I think one he mentioned was the Asdrubal Cabrera triple play. But they lost, so he couldn't
use it.
Couldn't use those. So there's a lot of good memories and cool things that happen and losses, but obviously you can't put them if you're going for a perfect season.
I wonder if it has to be unless there's something that beats it. The Mariners 10 to 12 game.
Oh yeah,
12-run comeback.
I didn't. Yeah, it's got to be.
That has to be. We have to figure out what game that was and see if it makes it. Like
we'll figure
that
it
has
out.
to. That has to make it.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best memories.
So
one of my best memories for sure.
So this doesn't take it in the playoffs. This is just regular season.
Yeah,
stuff,
just regular season 1 through 162.
Because the perfect season would be finishing off with a World Series win.
Yeah.
We have a World Series win.
Yeah.
And we have all up to Game 7. So we have.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him if he thought about doing that too.
Yeah, we should. That make a part 2.
The interesting part is this was originally supposed to be a Cavs book.
Oh really?
Yeah. And then we'll have to ask him how it ended up turning.
If it only been from 2007 now, there would have been nothing before that because it was all losses.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you go back in the early 90s. So there's a big gap in between.
And then before that, there was nothing again.
Yeah, no. Miracle Ridgefield, that was it.
No, I mean, but it was a good show. Great. Glad we had Matt Loede call on. That was fun. That was very.
Yeah, I'm working on trying to get guests lined up.
We should get Greedy on there so you can see his jersey.
Yeah.
But look, I got your jersey, son. You should call in and if anybody knows Greedy Williams that's listening to the show, probably not. You should have him call in so we talk to him about the Browns' upcoming season. Maybe maybe we'll reach out to Terry Pluto, see if because Plain Dealer is not doing much right now.
Yeah.
So.
True.
So, all right.
All right, guys.
Next week's gonna be a good show too. Like I said, we were talking about we have the author coming on. So
yeah, we'll have them around 8:15 or so. So make sure you tune in for that, and make sure you go on Amazon. His book's on Amazon, and
check it out.
There's also a website we put it up. I think it's perfect. Seasonproject.com. You can also get his book $14.99. It's cheap, so it's worth it.
And if you're not already, follow Matt Loede. He has great insight on the Indians. Tribe facts and news and everything. So I mean, it's a great Twitter.
Yeah, he put out a lot of good articles this week that I read.
Oh yeah, a lot. He's one of the best. So.
Yeah, he's been covering them since '94, so he knows the team inside and out for sure.
All right,
guys. So next week, have a nice, safe and happy 4th of July. Make sure you keep all your fingers.
Shoot off those fireworks, all right? Because they canceled all the fireworks shows.
Yeah, there's only a few. Streetsboro's doing them though.
Are they? They're not canceled?
No, Woodside Park campground. They're $5 a car to park in their parking lot.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
but
fun.
yeah, that's about the only one around here that's doing them now.
I'm thinking about what are you doing on what are you doing 4th of July?
I'm going to Melanie Lake for the day.
Oh, dumb.
Melanie Lake, and then coming home, and then going to Streetsboro to watch fireworks.
I was gonna say we should go in on some fireworks and just shoot them off on the back of my house.
Yeah.
Buy one get one free,
Yeah.
Fireworks, we just do our own display. It'd be fun. But whatever.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you
guys
next
later.
week. Be safe. Have fun.